Let me check 1, 2. Oof. Mic check 1, 2. Facebook, what's happening? Facebook, what's happening? Mic check 1, 2. All right, there it is. Cool. Let's share that out. LinkedIn. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. There it is. There it is. There it is. Mic check 1, LinkedIn, Lynn. All right, cool. Let me share this. Getting everything shared out, and then we're going to get right into it as we always do around here. You know how we do. You know how we do. So always podcast listeners, just give me a second. Make sure all the streams, everything is streaming accordingly. And we about to rock this thing out. And we about to rock this thing out. All right, here we are. All right. Right into it. As you can see, what we're discussing today, reacting and responding simultaneously. We are working on doing that all week. We've been talking about proactively solving problems, and we're wrapping the whole thing up by speaking on how to react and respond in a simultaneous way. All right. So before I get too into it, because there's a lot I have to share. There's a lot of stories, a lot of angles I can take when it comes to this particular topic. Let me just make sure I introduce myself to anybody that's new to my world, any new listeners. My name, Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, very soon to be 6-time published author and educator. What the Move Swiftly business is all about, what the brand is all about, is taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with business owners so they have a group of employees, they have a staff that moves as efficiently, that has that hunger, that has that drive of a championship youth or high school football team. That's what we want to create. We're going to create that culture between, those hungry kids. And the reason I say high school and youth is because these are hungry individual kids, hungry kids who most likely the majority of them are not going to play beyond this high school level. All right. And I got to go play at the collegiate level, and they damn sure ain't going to be good enough to play in the pros. The majority of them, this is where they learn. They're very impressionable at that age. And we want, just like you would take a new job, we want that kind of culture where they're hungry and they're going after it every single day and they're working to get better every single day. We want that kind of culture in your workplace, in your work environment. You want someone that can create a system that has that kind of culture. And that's what I teach. All right. So before we get started, like I mentioned, we got a lot to get to today, because, when I thought of this topic, when I thought of what it is we are going to discuss today, which is all about how to respond and react simultaneously, it came from a conversation with my girl. Like, it really did. It came from it was a conversation that I was having with her that, again, I teach, and, think about me is I teach. I've been in the educator space for now, 4 years. And it's one of those things where I'm not technically have a teacher's license or anything like that. I'm natural when it comes to how I deal with kids. I'm a natural when it comes to how I educate, or the way I'm educated, the way I fell into the industry, right? This isn't he went to school to be a teacher and then got his license and then had to go through this and it just, somebody discovered my ability online and they said, hey, we want you in this center because we like what you're doing. Online, yada, yada. That's how I fell into the industry. So when it comes to me, like I was discussing with you guys yesterday, I deal with the kids, especially more particularly the female, because I volunteered to coach high school football. So, when it comes to dealing with the male students, I mean, that's me all day. I could handle that, right? But when it comes to dealing with female students, young girls, I'm always getting myself into trouble. And it started, to be 100% honest with you, it started with my niece. My niece was born when I was still in college. And as she's grown and becoming the woman, she's going to be 16 this year. It's crazy for me to even think about anyway. But she came into South Florida, and me and her had a little back and forths, like we've been having back and forths since she probably turned about 3. So these back and forths that we have, it's almost like, it's crazy because we could go from like months of seeing each other, and it'd still be, uncle's in his early 20s. She's now learning how to talk, and me and her are going back and forth. I don't think it's ever going to get to a point where me and my niece just don't go back and forth. Like, that's just what it is. It's just what me and my sister still do. It's like she basically took my sister's place in terms of, you just go, but that's just the way it's going to be. It's just going to be back and forth regardless, right? So anyway, we had a back and forth, and I was chatting with my girl about it and how it made me feel and all that. And she made the comment to me. She goes, "See, you didn't respond to her, you reacted." And I was like, "Huh." Like, well, she's not a big, like, social person, like public speaker or anything like that. But if she can actually confirm this story, she could tell you, when she said that to me, I was actually taking a walk on the beach, and I was kind of it was a Sunday. I was taking a walk on the beach, and I was getting my thoughts together about how I was going to attack that particular week. And then she said, "See, you reacted to something that she said, and you didn't respond to it." And I was like, it's a good point. It's a good point. So here we are a couple weeks later, me fleshing out that entire dialogue. And again, the whole show is not going to be about that. It's not going to be about that conversation, because as she said it, I started thinking about things differently. I started thinking about how I teach. I started to think about how I work with several colleagues here that I'm not a big fan of. I've learned how to, figure out, okay, am I reacting? Am I responding? And have I figured out how to simultaneously do simultaneously do both, so you can achieve the desired result. All right. And that's what I've been able to kind of put together in today's show. So we're going to dialogue. We're going to discuss and flesh that out throughout the entire show today. And there's going to be several examples of this, both in the athletic world, and as I always do, one of my superpowers is transitioning what goes on in the football world and applying it to business. So you, as a business owner, you get the results that you are desiring. That's what this is about, folks. That's what all of this, everything you talk about, has to be about getting to the desired results. And you can't get to the desired results if you don't even know what the fuck the results are. All right. If you don't even know what results you're trying to get to, all of a sudden you just have chaos. So this, again, like everything I do on the show, everything I put out there, it's incredibly, incredibly important that you listen. You listen very closely to learn from the mistakes and learn from the things that I have done, because I'm here to teach you how to make sure these things don't happen. These things don't happen. That is the mission. All right. So all that being said, as always, I got too into the topic before I even got through my announcements. Let me get through my announcements, and then we will dive deeper into the stories. I have an article that I'll be sharing with you all about a big, boneheaded thing that I did yesterday using ChatGPT that actually has turned into an opportunity for me to create more talking points, to create more lessons, I'll say, for the people that I am looking to serve and the people that I want to work with directly. So first and foremost, West Palm Beach. If you are in the West Palm Beach area and you are interested in free boxing lessons, just simply hit the QR code that you see right there on the screen. Or if you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, go to freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. That is freeboxing.makeyourmove.com, and all the information will be sent to you accordingly. Business owners, as I've mentioned, this is what this business is all about. Move Swiftly, the Move Swiftly School of Sports Marketing. Move Swiftly Sports Marketing. What we do is to serve you all and align you all. First of all, teach you the system that's going to make it so you don't deal with turnover, but also align you all with the right candidates for the positions that you're looking to seek. And then they come into your business and you have an employee development system that is all about making them better. I need you to go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That's freeguide.makeyourmove.com, and you will receive, just put your information in and you will receive 10-step process, 10 bullet points that I created that'll make it so your team moves with a whole lot more efficiency, literally in that moment. Also, Patreon. Tap into the Patreon link, patreon.com/aswan44. And all of that is available on makeyamove.com. That is MakeYamove.com. It's your one-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. If you're looking at this via video, you'll see you could shop, you could join the Patreon, you could book me to speak, you could simply learn more about this Aswan Cruikshank guy that it keeps popping up on my feed that there's all this stuff on the internet about him. Or you could, again, listen to the #1 podcast on innovative teamwork named the Move Swiftly podcast now that I do solo episodes and I have guests. So I do both. Again, this is why it's the #1 show on innovative teamwork. We do it all. All right, let's get right into the topic today. So, reacting and responding simultaneously. So, like I mentioned, the person that pointed this out to me, again, my significant other who pointed this out to me, I offered a little bit of pushback. When I decided I was going to talk about this, I offered a little bit of pushback, and I said, is there a way that you can do both? Because as it was brought to my attention, the way I reacted to what my niece said something I wasn't particularly a fan of. Again, we were going back and forth, and I reacted to it in a way that you would react. You kind of get a little tense with her, you speak to her in a certain way, all that kind of stuff. Again, it's family, it's all going to be love at the end of the day, but you react in a way it's like, who you talking to? Shit. And you get into a little back and forth. So I reacted, I didn't respond to the actual thing. And then I got to thinking, okay, is there a way? And again, she pointed out to me, my girl did, and I was like, okay, is there a way that you would say, and by the way, these are the kind of conversations that we have, just so you guys know. And also to be sure to like, comment, and share this video to anybody that you think would need it in the future, or any business owners or anybody that really, really, really needs to hear this. All right. And there's a lot of people that need to hear it because there's a lot of people out there who really feel like they're alone. And me being the guy that prides himself on being in a Mr. Innovative Teamwork, I'm always here to serve that person that really feels like they're alone in this cold, cold world. Because trust me, guy like me, named like Aswan Cruikshank, I hear you, I feel you, I hear your heart. Even the people that have tons of friends, you can still feel like you're alone. We're here to serve you. All right. So again, I texted her. I was like, yo, okay. Is there a way that you can respond and react and it be in a simultaneous way? You do it the right way. And the reason I have to, what I thought about, the reason I texted her that is because I was thinking of a football player or a basketball player, anybody that plays any sport. In fact, I'll use the example of a basketball player since we're recording this the first day in May, and the NBA playoffs are now really heating up and getting exciting. A lot of people got sent home. It's possibly the last time that LeBron's going to lace him up. I don't even want to think about that right now. But again, that's our guy. That's our guy. So it's possibly saw LeBron James play his last NBA basketball game last night, which is kind of tough to think about. But the reason I'm bringing up sports is because let's use basketball as an example. All right. So let's say you're in a situation where you have the ball, and it's maybe, I don't know, let's say 5 seconds left to go, and it's your opportunity to win your team the game. And you see that the defender, the person, let's say it's ISO, right? Let's say it's LeBron on an ISO, and the defender you see is tired. You see the defender is not playing defense as well. He doesn't have his feet set. He's kind of wobbling around or whatever it is. And LeBron reacts to it in the right way. He crosses him over. He makes him move, and then he gets a free lane to the bucket, right? That is a reaction, and that's the right thing to do. He saw it. He reacted to it. He saw the defender he saw that the defender was tired. He saw that the defender wasn't playing defense as strong. He was a little flat-footed. He wasn't on the balls of his feet. He wasn't able to play defense. He knew that he wouldn't be able to react in a certain way. That's LeBron reacting to how weak the defender was and then going to the hoop. it's reacting, and that's the right thing to do. That was the right thing to do in the moment. It's the right thing to do because you just won your team the game. So the question I had for her, and this is where we sort of got into an agreement, is I'm like, yo, if you can teach a way, if you can teach or condition your mind and think of a way in which whatever happens to you, however you react to it, you're reacting in the right way to where, yes, you want to responding. So the difference that she had brought up is that when you react, let's say you get into an argument with somebody. Let's say somebody says something to you that you don't particularly like, or that you deem as disrespectful, and you fire back, well, man, fuck you, you motherfucker. You go at it. You just go at it. That's reacting. That's not responding, as opposed to responding by taking it in, understanding what the person said, and then responding to what the person said. Okay, that's pretty much the difference. So what I brought up, because of my background in sports, is that there's a way to do both. There's a way to do both. And it comes from a mental conditioning that you have to adopt when you're in your own time, right? When you're in your own space, when you're in your own feelings, when you have your own time, you got to figure out how you're going to take the right reaction and the right response and put them together and keep moving forward. This is work, folks. This is work. This is not something that's going to happen naturally. All right. You are not taught this. This is not the way that the world works. This is not the way that you are naturally being brought into this world. What happens is you come in this world as a baby and something goes wrong. You don't know how to speak yet. Something goes wrong. You're hungry. You got to eat, and you just start crying, and you're used to getting what you want. It takes development. It takes development to know, all right, I'm feeling this way. You got to say, mommy and daddy, I'm hungry. I would like this particular thing. Mommy and daddy responds to it, even though they may not want to do it. May they be tired. They may, not feel like feeding you at the moment, feeding the baby at the moment. They have to respond to what the person said. In fact, again, being in the position I am in, dealing with a lot of kids, I remember there was actually a point where there was a VPK. It was a VPK room that I was teaching in, and one of the girls would always have to use the bathroom. Every 5 minutes, this girl would have to use the bathroom. Every time you told her to do something, like go take a nap, whatever it is she didn't want to do, at that point she would have to use the bathroom. And you know what we would have to do as the teachers? We would have to let her go to the bathroom. You know why? Because if we get into the habit of keeping kids from going to the bathroom, now that creates a problem. There's potty training issues. Again, when you're trying to teach them how to potty train and all that other bullshit, you can't just tell them, oh, you can't go to the bathroom. And it's crazy, because these are the things that happen when you are developing as a human being. You start to respond to the thing and not reacting in a way that's going to cause more harmful effects. That's the difference when you have people to care for. But again, I'm here explaining to you how to do them both at the same time, how to condition your mindset to do them at the same time. Because I got news for you. I got big news, breaking news. Blaring lights, and mountains crumbling and rockets blaring. Breaking news, folks. You will make some mistakes. That's life. All right. There will be something you say, something you do in which somebody takes the wrong way. There will be something that happens in your life that you're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. If I had it to do again, I wish I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have said it like this. I wouldn't have reacted like something that you do, some way in which you react to a certain thing. And again, the example that I always go to when I think about this is when you're playing a football game, right? There's such a thing called a false start. All right. A false start is when offense has the ball, and they have a certain snap count. And one of the offensive linemen, before the ball is snapped, the offensive lineman, he jumps the snap count, and the referee calls a false start, and everyone's, the defense is clapping and all that stuff. Or if you're in an away game, the whole crowd is yelling like, yeah, we got him. And now if you do it in practice and it's just the offense, you get your ass cussed the fuck out when you false start. False starts happen. But here's the thing that I learned back in my youth days, back when I played for the greatest youth football program in the country named the White Oak Warriors. Here's what I learned back then. They said, if you're going to false start, make sure you go knock somebody on their ass. That's how you put that's that. You see, that's how I learned the game. Again, this is why I call the White Oak Warriors the greatest youth football program in the world, because I learned the game back then. It's like, look, if you're going to false start, go knock somebody on their ass and then show me why you deserve to be in that starting role. So every single time now, when you get a false start, so usually a false start, let me just show you. Usually, if this is how a false start usually happens, right? You hear, you say, huh, and then somebody comes in and then you're like, oh man, dang it. Now, a false start the right way, you say, huh, even though you're offside, you're going out, you're attacking, you're kicking somebody, you're ready to bust somebody's ass. That was the mentality that we were taught when we played. It's like, if you're gonna false start, make sure you knock someone on their ass. And that's what I mean. If you're gonna make a mistake, business-wise, in your whatever, parenting, whatever it is, make sure you do it big. Make sure you do it big, and make sure you show not only the coaches, whether it's the coaches or your teammates, make sure you show yourself you were ready. You were ready, because again, the play is not a matter of, hey, we're gonna 5 yards, a mistake happens, you're gonna get bitch whipped, you're gonna get yelled at. That's part of the game. That's part of ball. That's part of ball. That's part of business. But did you make the mistake, and did we see a certain look in your eyes? Did you have that eye of the tiger? Did you have that dog? Did you have that grind? Did you have it to where, okay, I made this mistake and I went out and I attacked it? And then all it takes now, because again, when you have that, all it takes is that you just know the snap count, right? That's it. When you think about that concept, and this is why, again, when I think about how to react and respond and trying to dissect the two, I think about, okay, when it comes to a player who false starts or jumps off sides or whatever it is, all it takes is that player knowing the snap count, and then that player is now ready for the big leagues. Now, Coach, it's like Coach Malloy would always say, he's ready for prime time. He's ready to go bang with the big dogs. He's ready for game day, when he's able to make that mistake like that. That's the kind of mistake, and that's what I mean when I say reacting and responding simultaneously. You got to develop this, because when the mistakes happen, these are the opportunities, folks. Okay, these right here are the opportunities. Hear me from my heart. I'm gonna actually, let me just pull it up on the screen for you guys to see right now. This happened to me yesterday, and this is something I just posted about it, and a Medium article. I'm gonna go over the Medium article on it in a second. But these are the things, folks, that when you nail it and you get it right, there is absolutely nobody that will stop you from your success, from your destiny, from exactly what it is you put out there in the world. Nobody. Because everything will be about a self-accountability thing. Everything will be about, hey, what can me, like, I'm using myself as an example here, but it'll be like, what can Aswan do better to make sure this result doesn't happen again? And when you take that approach, folks, they're going to be people that try to, find bullshit and create a bunch of narratives and create a bunch of things that really don't mean anything. But that really is your sign. That really is where, okay, that person, you just remove that person from your life and go on to the next one. It's like great Lou Holtz said, another one of the coaches that I keep up with a lot of this stuff. But Lou Holtz, great football coach for Notre Dame, once said, motivation is simple. Eliminate those who are not motivated. Straight up. Motivation is simple. Eliminate those who are not motivated. All right. So all that being said, let me get to today's article, because not only did I do an article on this, I did a video. I did a Move Swiftly thought on this, did a Medium article. I just dropped a LinkedIn article on it, and there's a post about it as well. And it was one of those things where it happened yesterday. This was not planned. This was not planned at all to talk about this, but it fits so well. It fits so well in the world that we live in now, that is AI driven, computer driven. And it pretty much, I think pretty much everybody has kind of caught the wave and has figured out that, look, if I'm not using AI tools in some way, shape, form, or fashion, I'm a dinosaur. I'm extinct at this point. If I'm not figuring out ways to utilize, look at this. I literally just, it just got posted and it's already gotten like claps on medium.com, right? Then not a lot of my articles don't get as many claps because it's such a relevant topic. And for me, when it happened to me yesterday, I said, look, this has to be the thing that I talk about. This has to be the thing that I talk about tomorrow. And when it comes to what exactly it is that we're talking about making a mistake, reacting to a mistake in a way that, can cause a problem, but figuring out how to respond and react in a simultaneous way to a mistake. So it was like, this is like the perfect story, the perfect thing to actually talk about and say. So all that being said, let me read the article to you guys directly as I normally do. And then I'll kind of talk through it and adjust to it from there. Again, if you are not following me on medium.com, be sure that you are doing that. That's where I'm considering seeing that book number 6 is scheduled to be ready for pre-order come the football season. If you're following me on medium.com, I will be, figuring out ways in which I can possibly discount the book, maybe offer a free one for anybody that has, commented on my stuff with Medium and stuff like that. Most of my written material, and that's how I started. I started as a writer. A lot of my written material is going to be through medium.com. I like it. I like the platform. I like the way it kind of, it's me. It's a whole lot to me. It's more, it attracts the kind of people that I want more than Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or anything that is dominated with pictures and stuff like that, or is more so about gossipy bullshit that a lot of people pay too much attention to. So anyway, let me read the article to you directly, and we will we'll go from there. So how a chat GP, by the way, podcast listeners, I'm currently reading it directly from Medium. Okay. How a chat GPT mistake taught me more about employee development than any book ever could. A lot of people think being a professional means never making mistakes. That couldn't be further from the truth. Yesterday, I made a mistake that on the surface looked minor, but it hit me in the gut. Why? Because it was the perfect kind of mistake that contradicted everything I pride myself on: being prepared, authentic, and intentional in how I communicate. Here's what happened. I was using ChatGPT to streamline outreach for a new campaign around employee development. I prompted it to find a list of podcasts that feature guests and focus on workplace leadership. Once the list was generated, I had ChatGPT tailor personalized notes for each show host so I can copy, paste, and send. Smart delegation, right? That you think that in your head, you think that that's a smart thing to do. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Have it tailor it, make sure it sounds like, and for those of you who don't know, I actually pay for the monthly that ChatGPT has. And it was actually a guest I had on the show. Shout out to Jacob, who kind of really could. Now, I was using it sparingly before him, but when I realized the company that he had, in fact, let me see if I can look him up real quick. It's called Focus Insight. I want to give him some flowers now. I'm gonna give him a little promotion because it was his show. It was him. Yeah, Jim Jacobs. Yep, Jim Jacobs, Focus Insight. He was on my podcast, and I've had over 100 guests on the show. So he was, again, former sports guy, hockey player guy that learned a lot of his business through sports. So Jacob, this is it. Yeah, Focus Insight. All right. Let me pull it up real quick so you guys can. So for you podcast listeners, I am looking at Focus Insight founder Jim Jacobs, who was on the Move Swiftly podcast. If you are a regular listener, you probably heard him talk. You've heard him a couple of weeks ago. All right, so this is his company. This is what he's all about. And it was on this show. It was on this show in which he told me live. He goes, hey, let me tell you how I use ChatGPT as when he goes, look, I pay for the monthly, and I, prompted, I write up everything. I'm like you, he's a lot like me, writes up everything, makes sure it's all prepared in due time and all that kind of stuff. And then he goes to ChatGPT and he goes, hey, make it sound motivational, make it sound more like me, make it sound like Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk or whatever it is. And it's like, for the most part, it's accurate, but you still have to proofread it and things like that. So when he made those statements to me, that's when I realized, okay, so doing something like a campaign, doing something like outreach, that's definitely something I can control. And that's definitely something that if I'm not taking advantage of, hey, shame on Aswan. Aswan can't be calling himself a success, or Aswan can't be expecting success to be coming down the pipeline if I'm not utilizing it in some type of way. So that's what I did. All right, that's what I did. So back to the article, folks. Smart delegation, right? So I did it. I sent out a handful of messages. One of them came back quick, short, and direct. All right. So I sent out this is a handful of messages. And one of the things that ChatGPT put in the message was, oh, I admire your show. And it sounded like they put it in the message that I sent out. It basically said, I admire your show and I've been loving it for years, yada, yada, yada. And that's just ChatGPT, kind of selling me, or doing what they think is the thing that I would want if I'm selling myself to a show, right? So the response from, I'm not going to put the podcast name out there or anything like that, but the response I got was this. As someone who has long admired our show, so this is them talking to me, right? This is a response they said to me. And he says, as someone who has, and you could feel the sarcasm in the way he shot the message back. That's why it's making me laugh. You can feel the sarcasm in his tone of the message, right? So he goes, as someone who has long admired our show, I'm sure you've noticed that we don't have guests ever. Sorry. So I'm reading directly from the article. I read it twice, then laughed, and then cringed. Like, it was cringy. It drives me crazy. I'm one of those, man, that, again, when you're talking about myself and how much I put into this, when there's a mistake like that, especially me, of all people, I get these messages every day where people pretend to actually listen to certain parts of my show. I mean, I didn't got to the point where I'm getting a message from these solicitors every time a new episode drops on my podcast. If somebody comes, it's like, yo, I know it's AI driven. I know it's like not a real person. And I never respond to that. So when I did it to somebody like that, I'm like, I can't believe it. I don't do this. It's almost like when you're a running back and you never fumble. Like, I don't fumble. I remember I actually when I coached high school, I was the running backs coach, and I was talking to one of the kids on the team, and he fumbled. I was getting on his butt about the fact that he fumbled. I think we played Paint Branch or something like that. And he's one of those talkers, right? He was one of those talkers that always talk about, I don't fumble, coach. I don't fumble, coach. I don't fumble the ball. I don't fumble the rock. That's not what I do, baby. He was one of those that did a lot of talking. So we get into a game and the mofo fumbles. So the next day in practice, I look at him. I don't really, really give it to him hard, but I look at him like, what? You don't fumble, though. He goes, I'm telling you, coach, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but I don't fumble, right? And that's how I felt when I sent this message, or when I got this response. I'm like, I don't do this. I don't do this. This is not Aswan Crookshank, all right? So then let me go back to the article here. So I read it twice, then laughed, then cringed. I just pitched myself to a show that very clearly doesn't accept guests. That would be like sending a baseball scouting tape to a soccer team. At first, I was embarrassed, which I was. I pride myself on being intentional and real. This felt like one of those generic pitches we all get and immediately delete. I immediately replied with an LOL, and I apologized. I did that. I immediately responded and say, my apologies. And I made sure I put LOL to know that this is an actual real human being. Let them know the whole thing. Hey, that was AI generated. I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't do that. You know, I take it personal at the fact that I don't do that. And I apologize because I've been on the receiving end of those messages and they annoy the hell out of me. But then something clicked. All right. After I got over it, this is where the magic happens. Like the great Oprah Winfrey says, the aha moments. Like, there's something major. That those old sayings, it's darkest before the dawn. It's through every dark night, there's a bright day. There's something on the horizon when you see mistakes happen, folks. When you see boneheaded, stupid shit like I did, there's something big about to go down. Are you ready for it, baby? Here we go. All right, so that wasn't just reading directly from the article. That now podcast listeners reading directly from the article. That wasn't just a mistake. It was a moment. Instead of brushing it off, I reflected on what just happened. This wasn't a tech era. This was a perfect case study in how employee development and entrepreneurship actually work. If I'm selling employee development workshops, what better example is there than this? Think about it. Then this is all right. Let me pause it right real quick before I give you something to think of. Think about it. I want to look you guys directly in the face. Think about it. If I'm selling employee development workshops and I'm asking a business owner to pay upwards of $60,000 a year to implement my system throughout the year because I'm that confident that it's going to help what you do. It's going to save you, hundreds of thousands of dollars going down the in the future. The $60,000 that you invest this year is going to save you literally hundreds of thousands of dollars that you'd have spent on turnover and, constantly replacing that employee and, hiring this one. And this one decides that they're going to take your system and implement it somewhere else. And then this one gets their entrepreneurial bug and they leave your company. I am telling you how to avoid those costs over years by simply paying the $60K for me to implement this system in your business now. All right. If I'm selling people on that, if that's my value proposition, right? Think about it. I have to be able to speak to these things from an actual human being. I have to be able to speak to these prompts. I have to be able to prep every single employee out there or every single business out there for these problems. I have to be the one to alert them to these problems. This is why you see the efficiency and how this story and how I decided, look, I was going to get on this and jump on this the next morning. This happened yesterday. All right. So think about it. Reading directly from the article now, guys. I said, who's verifying that? And this is this is conversations that I could be having with a potential client. Who's verifying the AI generated prompts your employees are using? That's a question that I can now address with a business owner. What's your team's process when a mistake happens? Again, this is something I could have firsthand experience with now. Number 3, are you building people? I didn't say building the damn bot, or I didn't say building some app or some website or some PowerPoint bullshit. I didn't some online shit that you have. Are you building people who shut down or who learn, pivot, and make something valuable out of it? This is now a story I'll be using in every workshop, keynote, and coaching session. Why? Because it's real. It's not no bullshit. It's an actual real thing that happened to me that I can now speak on and warn you as a business owner before you get too into the chat GPT and the AI and you like, yeah, I'm going to let this one go because I can do what that person who's dead weight and not doing shit for your business. You feel like, okay, I'm going to move on from that person because AI can take over it. Okay, now wait, before you do that, ask yourself, can I train that person to now be kind of the person that is in the way or verifying certain AI driven material that goes out? And is that material going to go out to masses of people and all that? Because again, there was nothing necessarily wrong with me generating that list and creating a list of people who have podcasts so I can go speak on it and all that. Again, the mistake just came from a prompt I put in and me not properly proofreading the, short cold reach out that got generated and making it a point to say, hey, let's not put that sentence in there. Let's make sure it gets taken out. That happens. But again, I made the mistake of not actually looking at it before I click send. Now, again, I can speak to it from firsthand experience and say, are you building up people that are verifying this material? All right. So this is now a story I'll be using in every workshop, keynote, and coaching session. Why? Because it's real. Because it's what today's workforce needs to understand. Success doesn't come from avoiding mistakes. It comes from knowing how to make the most of them. For the people in the back. No. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it for the people in the back. I'm going to say it for the people who didn't hear me. I'm going to say it like I'm going to say it with my chest now. All right. Success doesn't come from avoiding mistakes. It comes from knowing how to make the most of them. You got to make the most out of every single mistake you make, which means you can't build up a lifestyle. You can't build up a mindset. You can't condition your mindset to just avoid mistakes. Every mistake, you got to learn how every mistake can become money, cash, dollar bills, y'all. Make that mofo rain because of mistakes, right? Because you learned some mistakes, you cleaned it up, you fixed it up, and then you figured out how to teach people how to avoid the same bullshit you was on. That's what folks pay for. That's where the big money is. That's where the millions and quadrillions of dollars are going towards people just teaching other folks how to avoid mistakes. That's what happens. That's how the game is played. All right. So finishing out the article here, it says turning the L, as in, the loss. Some people might not understand that. Turning the L, an L, sometimes when people say, hey, you took an L, that means you actually lost and shit like that, right? So turning the L into leverage. This is one awkward reply. This is all coming from one awkward reply that I got from a podcast. That one awkward reply has now become a YouTube video. I spoke about it this morning. Social media post. I posted about it right before I got on this live stream. A LinkedIn article that's out now, as you can see. And as I'm working on my next book, How to Be a Wintrepreneur, you better believe that this story is going to be a chapter in that book as well. So it hits on every single angle. When it comes to my ideal client and the people I'm looking to serve, you want to make sure every single business owner knows that I actually made that mistake, and boom, here's what I'm selling on the back end. Here's my employee development workshops, and this is why I'm better than whoever else you're considering, because this is a mistake that I'm owning right now, and I'm teaching you exactly how to avoid that. And if you don't avoid it, if you go try to find someone who pitches themselves as being this perfect person that knows everything, okay, get ready to waste your money. Get ready to waste your money. If you go out and you decide you're going to pay your money for somebody who's supposed to be helping you with your employee development, but this person never made mistakes, this person who wrote a book never made a mistake, never had a typo, never had anything happen to him or her that was a mistake, why the hell would they hire you? I remember back actually when I was working at a Orange Theory, and they were considering, one of the members came in and they were considering hiring a trainer, and they told me they didn't hire the trainer because the trainer was too nice. And I know that kind of trainer that feels like, okay, if I'm nice to this person, they're going to pay me money. No, that's not the way it works. They want authenticity, folks. That's how the cash gets reined in, is through onto authenticity. All right. So, and most of them are reading that, finishing up from the article. And most importantly, it's become a new entry point to start meaningful conversations with business leaders, HR pros, and executive teams who are serious about developing their people. If you're one of them, here's your next step. Bring that Move Swiftly employee development workshop to your organization. MakeItMove.com, because real growth doesn't come from polished perfection. It comes from people who can laugh at themselves, learn quickly, and then move swiftly on a situation. And that's that. Here's the website right there that you can do. You can go shop and make sure you get in contact with me, and we'll go from there. That is what it's all about, folks. That's what it's all about right there, what I just said. And I know there was a lot there, But the main thing that we need to be taken away from today's discussion is when you respond and you react and you are doing it the right way and you're simultaneously doing it the right way, it's going to lead to a positive result. But you can't expect anybody else to do the shit for you. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. This is going to require a level of self-development that you got to hold yourself accountable. You cannot think like the world thinks. You cannot think in a way that the world naturally pushes you down. In fact, next week, I'm going to be discussing numbers, and we're going to be discussing how to really break down numbers and utilize numbers and really ask yourself what numbers really mean, because too often do we get pointed into a direction in which our value is worth our grade point average when we were in high school, or our value is based on a salary number. It's not based on where again, the way the world naturally moves is your value is based on how much money you're making, not how much money you're saving, or not how much money you had to start and then how much you were able to make, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to break down how to really look at numbers and see really where you're at based on numbers, and how to use numbers in a way that doesn't, lead to discouragement, but just leads to, okay, this is where I'm at. Let's just make it better. And this is who I'm targeting. Let's make it better. And now I'm going to make it so numbers are working for me. That's what we're going to be discussing next week. And it goes right along with this topic in terms of reacting, responding, making sure I'm doing what I have to do to condition my mind so I'm achieving the desired result based on how things happen, what happens, and all that kind of stuff. So all that being said, again, appreciate you guys. It's been another incredible. Tomorrow we got Faith-Based Friday, so it's kind of going to be wrapping up the proactive problem-solving conversation. Who knows? It might come back depending on what happens in the future. This, that, and the third. I don't rule it out. Again, a lot of the stuff we discuss, a lot of everything I discuss is evergreen, meaning you can listen to it whenever it becomes time for you to listen to it. Main website to dive into, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I do, and hopefully have someone listening that wants an employee development workshop. It's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYaMove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.